Hi, is this music going to go on? Oh, okay. I thought this would be a unique panel with the music playing in the background. So thank you guys for staying back for these 20 minutes. We have the director of IIM Indore, one of 20 IIMs if you look at it this way. But what I discovered is, while reading up and thinking about this interaction is that it's the only IIM which takes people soon after their 12th standard. So did you know that IIM Indore or any IIM took people? No, faculty is out. Are you from the faculty? Okay, good. Thank you. So the
No, it's already graduated, 2016.
Yeah, maybe last year. Great. So when we talk of disruption, I thought for a moment that the courses that include social sciences and issues which a 12th standard student still has to learn and meander before taking the CAT and then getting into IIM. IIM Indore has already sorted out since 2012. A matter of disclaimer, Rishikesh joined IIM directorship in 2014. So he's not just a great general, he's a lucky general. He inherited some of this and has built on it and how. Could you just give us a quick plug-in on the disruptions and innovations that the audience, as erudite as this one, needs to know in about 3-4 minutes before we get on to the brass tacks?
Sure. Yeah, so I think essentially, the whole theme of this conference today is competitiveness and the links between innovation and competitiveness. So one of the big challenges we face in management education is how do we combine theory and practice? One of the criticisms we hear fairly frequently, particularly from employers, is your students are all very smart, they know lots of things about marketing, finance, etc., but they're not very practical, they take a long time to deliver on the job, we have to do some further training and comments like that. So one of the issues we have been grappling with in IIM Indore is how do we really make our graduating managers forces for competitiveness of the industry? How do we facilitate them to really become contributors almost from the day they enter their jobs? So here I'd just like to focus on a few things we are doing. Part of it is related to the 5-year program which was just spoken about. And part of it relates to our MBA program where we have this challenge in a slightly bigger way. So let me just start with the 5-year program. So one of the challenges I think we face in India is sort of monoculture, if you like, in management education. If you go to any of the top business schools, you will find that 80% plus. In some of the institutes, it's 95% plus of the students have an engineering background.
And 95% of them would be boys.
Yes, and another issue of that is also related to the gender, of course. So while, of course, engineering skills are important and engineering curricula do give you very good analytical skills, I think it would be fair to say, and we've heard all about people skills since the morning, we had a wonderful talk from Whitney and so on. When you look at the kind of skills you need from a good manager, it's not only IQ, it's EQ, it's understanding people better, it's having a broader perspective, it's an ability to look at things in a historical and social context. All of these things are extremely important. So all of this drove or sort of motivated us to look at, can we have a different program where, first of all, we are not taking people from engineering. Secondly, just like companies like to catch people young, we also have a chance to catch them young so that when they are out of 12th standard, before they have developed too many bad habits, while they still have the energy to sort of think about new things, can we bring them into an IIM and give them a unique kind of an experience? So this is what we try to design in the 5-year integrated program that we offer. And it has two very distinct parts. The first 3 years of the program are focused on what we believe are the core disciplines of management. So we call this actually the foundations of management. So we are looking at subjects like economics, statistics, mathematics, psychology, sociology. These are usually considered to be the mother disciplines of management. So we combine this with a focus on liberal arts and drama and, history and a whole lot of other things, and try to create a very rich perspective for them in the first 3 years. And then, after that, they go into the 4th year where they join with the other stream of students who come into IIM Indore, who are our 2-year MBA students, who come through CAT like everybody else, and these two streams fuse together.
What is the ratio of streams?
Yeah, so we have 450 students in the MBA program, 120 students in the 5-year program. So essentially, in every section of about 75 people, we have 10, 12 people from the integrated program, and the rest all come from the regular MBA program. And this has enabled us to create diversity in the class. It's also, as was suggested, enabled us to have a good percentage of women, because we are able to certainly attract good percentage of women into the 5-year program. There's a certain difference in perspective which we are able to see among these students who join us right after 12th standard. We are able to, as I said, give them a much broader perspective. And that finally does demonstrate itself at the time they are ready to go into jobs when they go for placement. The other part of what we have been doing is focusing on how do we make the 2-year MBA program much more practice-oriented without giving up on the rigor which a typical MBA program has. So here we've done a few things which we consider are interesting. One is we have a strong industry interface component in the first year of our MBA program. What this means is the students, in parallel with their first-year compulsory courses, also undertake an industry project. So in the second term of the first year, they start working on the project, they visit the company a few times, they understand what the company's problems are, and then by the third term, they actually start trying to solve a particular problem which the company has assigned to them.
But typically, I found that internships are something that companies don't take seriously. And here you are thrusting your students on the industry through the calendar year from what you say. So why is it that the industry is even accepting this kind of interface?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. So actually, I have a few of my industry colleagues here from Indore actually in the audience. And I think the reason we've been able to do that is we've put a lot of effort in building a relationship with the local industry. We run a lot of other events for them. We have a monthly speaker series. We've actually done gratis workshops in all the major industrial areas around Indore. We've done in Pithampur, we've done in Devas, we've done in Indore city. And we make a determined effort every month to have at least one event where we are also giving something back to the industry.
So you're in a way catching them young too.
Yeah, so it's a two-way relationship we've been trying to build with them. The second thing we realized is that it's often assumed in an MBA program that students don't need skills, that they already have all the skills they require to be successful professionals. But in practice, we find that's not the case. So we have developed now a set of skill development workshops which are also an integral part of the MBA curriculum. These include some very contemporary skills like design thinking. It includes entrepreneurial orientation. It includes leadership. It includes sustainability, communication skills, and even advanced spreadsheet skills. For example, many times students think they know pretty well how to use spreadsheets, but when they go into a company and they're given a very complex problem, sometimes they realize they don't actually know all the features which, say, something like Excel has. So we're trying to focus on giving them this whole portfolio of skills so that when they go into the workplace, they can link this to the theory they already know. They've already got some practical experience thanks to the industry interface project and the internship, and they can apply all of this. Finally, the third thing we have done in our MBA program, which is a bit different from others, is we have introduced a couple of what we believe are quite unique courses. One of them is what we call a rural immersion course. So, I mean, it's something that we often mouth in seminars like this, that India is 60% in the villages and all the rest. But the fact is that most of our students are urban animals. They all come from cities and towns. Many of them have very little exposure to rural India. Yet, some of the biggest and growing markets for the companies they join will be in rural India. So we have tied up with the government of Madhya Pradesh to give them a 1-week rural immersion every year in the first year. So the government of MP helps us identify some projects, and the students go in teams into rural MP and undertake these projects with the help of the government. So they've done some interesting stuff. For example, last year the government asked them to find out how Swachh Bharat is actually progressing in all those villages.
So do you have a role in Indore coming #1 in Swachh?
No, I don't think we have a role, though I'm on the board of the Indore Smart City and so on, but I don't think I can claim any credit for it. But certainly we've been able to, again, build a good relationship with the government of MP to drive this. The other program which we are very proud of is something called a Himalayan Outbound Program. And this is something which has been in IIM Indore now for several years, where in the second year, this is actually an optional course, but 90% of the students do it. They go on a 1-week trek to the Himalayas. It has all the components of a typical corporate outbound program, but it has a few extra things thrown in, like sensitivity to the environment, challenges in living in places like the Himalayas, and of course all the typical team building and group exercises you would have in an outbound. Interestingly, this is one of the most popular courses in IIM Indore, not surprisingly, of course, because they have a lot of fun in the course, but it's also a very good, almost like a capstone. It's in the, just before Diwali in the second year. It sort of gives a good way of integrating many of the things they have talked about in the course.
Right, so when you say the topic was given to us by Amit was what drives competitiveness, you have elucidated on how the entry stage as well as the integration with the MBA program and the whole rigor associated with involving the outside world is involved. Now, maybe we could just, in the few minutes left, talk also of EDPs. You have programs for senior executives, so maybe if you can put that block in as well, we would know what really drives the competitiveness of your institution and therefore the larger piece of management education which you represent as a director.
Yeah, so again, executive education is something which is an important dimension of most management institutes. Here we have tried to do a mix of things. One is we run a lot of the plain vanilla programs that most institutes run. That's not terribly different from what other institutes do. But we have tried to run specialized programs, once again, with institutions within the state. For example, we have worked a lot with the government of MP on things like public-private partnerships and contract management, which is an area where they need a lot of skills because that's the way a lot of government functioning is happening these days. We have worked very closely with some of the big companies located in Indore, like Volvo Eicher Commercial Vehicles is one of the big companies there. And my colleague Abhishek Mishra and I have been doing a whole series of courses on innovation and product development, which is our forte and also a very important area for them. So the effort has been to align the strengths and expertise of the faculty with some of the specific needs of the industry in and around Indore, and to try and use that as a vehicle to drive executive education as well.
So now those of us who worry about too many IIMs and every university or institution being hived off and given a renaming of IIT or IIM in this case, what is your larger and candid understanding of the competitiveness of the IIM brand? Is that being diluted with 16
20 now.
16 beyond the ABCL we knew? I purposely don't include Indore in that yet. Or is it actually enhancing, so to speak, the competitiveness of the brand in the external world? How's your assessment sitting inside?
So my assessment sitting inside is actually very simple. I think many of the bets we take in India are bets on the growth of India. And I think all of us believe, and we also earnestly wish, that India will continue on this growth trajectory and will continue to do extremely well as far as economic growth is concerned. Now, if economic growth is going to happen in the way we all imagine it will, then we will certainly need lots of good managers in India. And for that, I don't think 20 IIMs is a number too large. However, there is another part of the challenge. And that part is, how long does it take for us to bring an institute to a level of maturity? And this is a thing I think we still haven't figured out. Partly, I think it's an issue of the government. Partly, it's an issue of the leadership of these institutions. How long does it take for an institute to reach critical mass? How long does it take for an institute to reach the stature where it can justify the IIM brand name? If you look at that, historically, it's been about 15 to 20 years. If you look at IIM Lucknow, which you mentioned, it was started in 1984. It sort of came of age around 2000. Our own institute in Indore, we started our programs in 98. It's kind of reached full scale maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. So 15 to 20 years seems to be the sort of time horizon it takes. I think the big challenge before India, and I particularly liked the comment of one of the earlier speakers who was speaking about an execution deficit. I think that's the challenge. I think we can justify the IIM brand name. There's nothing wrong with expansion if we can also execute the projects much faster so that we bring them to speed much quicker. If we can do that, then I think there's a full justification for setting up 15, 20 IIMs. The country will need them if we are going to get anywhere near the kind of dreams we have for the country.
Right, so just 1.5 minutes, the ticker says Amit is already giving IPL umpire-like signals like this and this and this. So I'll defer to that. Maybe one question, one remark from the audience, and then we go. Okay, good. So we'll leave it here. Thank you very much for your comments on how you are making IIM Indore more competitive, and the larger thing about IIMs themselves being part of the strategic acumen and the disruptive acumen of Indian management.
Yeah, if I can just add one closing comment.
Yeah, sure.
So on each table here, you will find a booklet we have placed where we have tried to relate some of the recent research done by our faculty to the kind of challenges you might face in industry. So if you can just pick it up, you will find that we have tried to interpret some of the research studies in a way that is very easy for people from the world of practice to understand, and we have tried to make some connections. So I would urge you to at least flip through that, and if you see any interesting article there, please do mail the concerned professor, and we'd be happy to reach out to you. Thank you.